He's starting through the back of the head around the occipital bone area, where he's going to be creating a length with a horizontal section. This section on the horizontal axes that he's cutting through now is going to act as a guide for the whole of the back of the head, not only for the hair underneath the fingers into the nape, but also the hair into the section above the zone that he's cutting through now. This will allow him to create a middle point where the length is at its most shortest because of the head is protruding the most over the occipital bone area. Stephen's now going to start working vertical sections from the top of the section that he's already cut for the guide, and then working down to the bottom of the nape area. He's going to be working on the inside of his fingers and slightly elevating his knuckles away towards the bottom of the head. This will create a slightly shorter to longer shape on the back of the head underneath the occipital bone area, creating more softness and length towards the bottom of the line. Stephen's going to continue working those vertical sections from the top of this zone into the zone that he's just finished over the occipital bone area. This will now give him a nice peace of mind where he has a length from the bottom of the line which will act as his guide, and he can choose what shape he wants to create through this zone. We can see that he's going to start working from the bottom of the line in terms of cutting and working with that nice point cutting with the scissors to continue that softness on the cutting line. He's then going to be working a slightly rounded shape through the crown area up until the next zone. This will create softness and a head hugging shape through that zone, which will create a bit of volume and movement also. Stephen's now moving on towards the side of the head that he's just finished working on from the back zone. So it's a continuation from the back into the side, where he's going to be replicating the vertical sections that he's created and then start to work a triangular cutting line from the bottom into the top, where again he's working that slightly longer length through the bottom, and as he works gradually towards the top of the head, he's going to be rounding that corner off slightly by working on the outside of the fingers. To finish off the side panel, Stephen's now going to be working some point cutting through the external shape, just to really start to personalize the outline of where the hair sits on the jawbone area, also to start breaking up the outline a little bit more as well. What's going to be essential is the choice of length that Stephen decides to make it. This is why it's essential that he got the crown right, as he's going to be connecting the length from the crown in towards the front area, and then it will depend on how extreme he wants to make that round shape in towards the front and how short the fringe actually becomes. As he works through the second section and the third section, there's no need for any over direction to the previous, as we are working off the base of the head, working at the angle of the section, working from the back where the guide is all the way in towards the front area. Before Stephen moves on to the personalization of the fringe area and the rest of the haircut, he's just going to cross-check through that top zone, making sure that we see something that's very rounded from the center profile all the way around on the horizontal axes to the corner of the head. Stephen's now going to start personalizing the haircut, where he's opting to start through the side panel. He's just sectioning away some of that top area to allow him to work with less hair at one moment as he's working with the slicing. You can see that he's working very visually with the hair at natural fall, working with the slicing of the V of the scissor down the hair shaft from the mid-length through into the end. This will create a very distinctive texture through the edges of a haircut and create something that is very uneven and deconstructed. Once Stephen's happy with the side panels, he's now going to focus on the length at the back of the nape, where again he's going to be using the same technique, just slicing through the lengths through the perimeter until he feels that he's taken the length down to the desired look and also taken enough density out of the mid shaft of the hair. Again, this is a great technique to use through any of the areas of the haircut through the perimeter, whether it's through the fringe, through the side areas, or through the nape area where Stephen's working now. The final part of the wet cutting and shape is going to be working through the perimeter of the fringe, where Stephen's going to be working with a little bit of tension, cutting through the fingers and working with the point of the scissor to create maximum texture. Again, we don't want this perimeter to look perfect or very neat and clean. It just needs to look balanced from side to side, but have a nice personalized finish on. It's really important to move the hair around and see how it's sitting as you're texturizing. So after every couple of minutes when you're working with the personalization, really use your other hand to move the hair around and almost pre-style it before you put any more product into the hair. This will help you determine whether you need to continue to personalize and texturize any areas and take away any more weight and density, or whether you've done enough and you're just going overboard now. As you can see from the finished result, we have something that is really cool, which really resembles that 90s Oasis vibe, but Steven's personal touch has been put onto it. You can really manipulate these haircuts into something that's more personal to you by changing the lengths or the shapes in lots of different areas throughout the haircut, but it's a very playful shape which is based upon roundness, softness and texture at the same time, which is quite rough and ready to go with minimal styling. We hope that you enjoyed watching this video, guys, and we hope to see you on the next one.